Welcome to my messy life. Take my hand and dive right on in with me. It's gonna be alright. Messy imperfect life with Leigh.
Mariel Hemingway, ladies and gentlemen. We met one time.
That's right.
In a green room.
Yes.
At some live show for something.
A couple years ago, right?
Yeah.
Maybe 4 years ago.
I can't keep any time.
Anyway.
What was it?
It was a weird show. I never saw it. Did you?
No. I have no idea what it was even. I just knew I met you in the green room.
Yeah. And that was the first time I'd seen David since doing Saturday Night Live 1,002 years ago. It was the first time I'd seen him.
You were on with him when he was on the show?
I introduced him.
Oh my gosh.
That was his first Saturday Night Live. I introduced the entire new cast
with Will and Molly
and
Molly Shannon, Dave, and a girl.
Well,
named
Molly
Nancy.
was the only one that had been there before.
Oh, she was there.
And so it was Dave, Will, what's her name?
Nancy Walls. Do you remember her?
She had a
Sherry O'Terry.
Sherry O'Terry. She had a rhyming name.
Oh, that's so funny.
And so you know what I did is that it was a takeoff because I'd played so many lesbians in my career. So every time a woman I introduced, like when I just like, oh, this is David, and I just pass him by like he was,
that's
dirt.
Hilarious.
And all the women I made out with.
Okay, so I just read because I jumped online to read about you and was blown away. I don't know what I thought you were. I don't know what I don't know what was in my head. I just knew you had pretty legs and your last name and you were glowing and looked in shape.
Right.
That's what was in my head. And then I opened the damn computer right before you came and nominations, Golden Globes, and I don't even remember what I read all of them, but so many things you got nominated for, so many films and TV shows, and wow, it's like you had a whole giant life for a long time, and then all of a sudden, there's a whole nother huge giant life.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And then, it was interesting. It's like I had a whole big career before I was really even through my 20s.
Seriously.
And then I had stuff, but it was more, it was slower then. And, it was it's been an interesting ride because I'm in the best part of my life right now.
Oh gosh, how good is that?
Part of my life.
How good is that?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Isn't it weird? Isn't it weird what we think it's going to be like when we get older? And then we are. And I think that I don't know because I haven't looked for photos of you, but I think you may be hotter right now. Or were you hotter back then?
I feel hotter, if that's a term.
I know. Is it more hot or hotter?
I don't know. I feel better now than I've ever felt in my life. And so that's the beautiful thing.
Part of
God bless.
Connecting right to your heart, knowing who you are.
Knowing who you are, like having been through it, knowing that things always shift.
Oh, yeah.
When you go through you talk about messy stuff.
Yeah.
When you go through your messy stuff, especially when it's earlier on in your life, you sort of think it's always going to be like that. And of course, as you get older, you realize everything changes. Even the good things change, but it's all okay because you're much more in tune with it and you kind of stay present. And when you stay present, like it doesn't really matter.
When you're present, the past doesn't exist.
Exactly.
And
nor does the future.
Isn't real. I mean, that hasn't even happened. It's not
exactly
even in
exactly.
And so it's so interesting to learn about being in the present moment because you're free.
Yeah.
You're not spinning in bullshit and stories and all that.
And I've been talking about being present because I wrote a book called Finding My Balance years ago. And that when I was promoting it, I really talked about, I did sort of yoga workshops and things. And I really talked about being present and that the whole concept, which for so many people was so foreign. It's become much more, we live in LA, so it's a hip and cool thing to know about. But
when you experience it, it's magical.
It is magical. And I think that's what age does to us. It enables us to realize that being present it's a feeling. It's not a concept. It's an actual way of living.
Yeah.
And it's extraordinary what it teaches you.
The difference in me when I'm talking to, I remember when I was practicing mindfulness, I do these 33-day Facebook Live series, and I was doing my first one ever on mindfulness, just because someone tapped me and said, will you be part of my film? I said, of course I will. Ran home and Googled mindfulness. I didn't know what the hell it meant. And giving all of your attention to the present moment with no judgment.
Yeah.
So if you're at your computer, you're giving all of your attention to the assignment you're doing or task.
Exactly.
If someone comes to speak with you, you either say, I am going to give you all of me in 2 minutes so I can finish what I'm doing, and then you have me. And I did that with my son once, and he said, no, I actually need you now. And because I was mindful and present, I heard that.
Yeah.
And I closed my computer and I turned to him. And this was like one of my first few days practicing it. And I looked him straight in the eye, and he was probably... he's 12 now. He's probably like 7 or 5. I don't know. I mean, for 5 years, I hadn't really looked at him, I guess. You know, I've been multitasking, which means you're doing everything half-assed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So he looked at me, and I just got down on his level and looked in his eyes, and he was like, he couldn't take all of me because he wasn't used to it. It was so overwhelming. And in that moment, I realized how powerful being present is, how much you feel seen and heard and loved by presence.
Absolutely. And it's that sort of thing. I am here now speaking to you. What else is there? There's really nothing.
Nothing.
There's really nothing else. And it's doing what you're doing when you're doing it. And like you said, and it's a practice that, you know, once in a while we fall back into
a lot
patterns. I mean,
a lot.
Bobby gets really upset. Bobby's my significant other. And he's like,
super hot, by the way. Oh my goodness.
So out of control.
I don't know him, but
don't
his
think
body
I
and
have
face.
to stay in shape?
Shit.
That guy's killing me.
He's so good looking. Your pictures
He's
on
very good
Instagram
looking.
with him, I'm like, damn, both of you are glowing.
And he's just such a good person, but he likes me to be like there's no phone, there's no, and it's, so now we have sort of, I wouldn't say rules, but they're rules.
Yeah.
In the sense that we turn off technology at like 8:00. It's just off. The phones are off, the computers are off.
That's so damn good.
Unless it's Netflix. I'm sorry. Sometimes.
Well, yeah.
That's
entertainment.
That's different.
That's different than tuning someone out.
Yeah. I mean, it's no longer Instagram, Facebook, texting, it's just, and it changes your life.
How long have you been with him?
10 years.
Oh, wow.
10
Congratulations.
Years. Yeah. It's been amazing. And
how did you meet?
Amazing. It's a bit of a sordid story. No, it's not sordid. But I had a friend that I would hike with in the morning. We'd only been friends for a little while. And she said, you've got to meet this guy I just started dating because both of you are so much alike. So
that I just started dating.
I know. Thank God. Well, it wasn't like I broke up a long time.
Yes, right.
I mean, I want to be
You're like, are you sure you want to introduce me? Have you seen my legs? She's like, yeah, bitch. I'm looking at them right now.
Well, so we agreed to go for a hike like a couple days later, and we drive up. I drive up with my friend, and he drives up in this truck that says Mountain Man on the license plate, and I'm like, well, there you go. That's a start. He gets out of the car
because you like mountains.
Because I grew up in the mountains.
Oh, that's right.
I grew up in Sun Valley, Idaho.
That's right.
So that was like already, I was like totally piqued my interest. He got out of the car. I looked at him. He looked at me. We both looked down
because you knew instantly.
Uh-oh.
You're my guy, and you're with my friend.
It wasn't just like attraction. It was like, I know you.
Yeah.
It's like and being seen. And one of the first things that like so moved me, it wasn't but a couple months later that I had my first birthday with him, and we just went to a health food store. We went for a hike. We did like things that
you love
don't mean anything. And at the end of the day,
you love?
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I went, that was the best birthday I've ever had.
Oh.
And he goes, I see you. And I just like it. I mean, it still makes me cry.
I would cry.
I was just like, holy shit. Because nobody, it's just that whole thing. And my whole thing is having people know that they're seen and they're heard.
Yeah.
Because people don't feel that. Mm-hmm. Getting back to being present, people don't feel seen. They don't feel heard. They feel pushed aside. And so when I had that feeling of like, oh my God, somebody actually sees me. It's extraordinary. It's an extraordinary. I feel so blessed that I have that in my life.
How great is that you got to, in that moment, it's like a holy moment.
It is.
It's like God saying, this is right on track. This is
100%.
This is what you are worthy of.
Yes.
And when you allow yourself to be worthy of it, it can touch you.
Well, I was in a marriage for many, many years, 24 years. And I was very unhappy. And nobody's, I don't blame anybody, anybody else for that. I stayed in that marriage. I made those choices. And I remember thinking, God, I wonder if there's somebody out there that I could be comfortable being me with, which was my struggle. I had a hard time being myself in that relationship. For whatever reason, I don't know, because I got into it. I was super young and I couldn't make those shifts, but I also became my mother. There was all these things. And at the end of the day, I'd go, I never feel like I'm myself.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, God, I wonder if there's somebody out there that will. And then I thought, I actually thought this, I make movies and all that stuff. I thought, it's just bullshit. They just write about that shit.
Yes.
It's not real.
Right.
Relationship like that.
Because you think
really
it's really too good to be true.
Too good to be true. And what's interesting about being with Bobby, but his name's Bobby Williams, is that
name Bobby's so cute.
Yeah.
I love it.
He's such a good but it gets better every day. Like, I always thought relationships started on a high and sort of dwindled out.
Yeah.
That was what I saw in my parents. It's just what I thought. And I was okay with that. I was like, I'm not being beat up. I'm not, whatever.
Yeah.
But this relationship gets better. It's a commitment. You have to work on it. I don't want to even say work, but you have to be present. You have to stay with it.
Own your shit.
100%.
Your shit. Because when we're point outside of ourselves, we're out of the relationship.
And and 90% of the time somebody's doing something that annoys you, it's you.
100%.
It's just a mirror.
Yes.
You're like,
Every time I judge someone, they're too loud. They're doing this. They're doing that. They're seeking attention.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, damn it. Okay, I'll work on it.
Who did I just describe?
I
I know.
Yeah, and you can't see what you don't have. I love that.
Yeah.
So when people say to me, oh my gosh, and they say really beautiful things, I'm so happy for them that they can see that, because I know that, and I reflect that back to them. Just so you know, all of those qualities you can't see unless you have it. They're like, thanks.
It's
true. But it's so sweet.
That's why you have the sweatshirt that says, I'm an expert.
I'm an expert. I was hoping you were going to ask me about that.
Yep.
I got this because I kept trying to speak and stuff, and everyone was going, you're not an expert. You're not an expert. Have you written a book? Are you a doctor? I was like, no, but I know a lot of good shit. And
you're the mother of 5 kids. Can we just say that?
We can say that, and so much more.
And so much more.
And so much more. They have been great teachers.
I think we're all actually, you get to a certain, aren't you 53? You're 50. Okay, good. Thank God. You get to a certain point.
I was
You are an expert.
Too.
I'm 57.
Are you?
Damn. Damn, girl.
You're so pretty.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm not talking just about your earth suit, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
That's what I just noticed about you when I met you, just your openness and your glow that comes from inside.
Yeah, well, I remember when we met, I was like, oh, that was fun. I like her. I hope we stay in contact or something. And then
we have a little bit on stuff on social media.
Yeah.
So much so that I was like, I saw something pop up. I was going, oh, of course I have to get her. And then my old story of unworthiness from my childhood came up. I was like,
right.
She's going to be like, you've only done how many? No. You call me when it's really going well, when it's established.
Whatever.
And then I was like, screw you, stupid voice. Will you come? And you're like, yes. And I go, thank you. Yeah, I like that.
No, that's the way it should be. I mean, I don't, hello.
What is, because I want to keep just chatting with you about organic, normal stuff, but what is something that's been messy in your life that knocked you on your ass and that you crawled out of, learn the lessons, and you're using it now as a fuel for good?
Well, I would say when it was kind of I was probably 3/4 towards the end of my marriage. And it really had nothing to do with my marriage, but I was very depressed. And it's why I do a lot of, I come from a family of depression and suicide and mental illness and addiction, all kinds of stuff. And
me too on that.
I have a feeling so many people,
Yeah. I've
so
had
many
suicide
more than
attempts,
we'd all,
but no one's
it's
ever
just
died from it.
tough. It's a tough world we live in, and I give voice to those that don't feel heard. I also offer that there are more solutions than people realize. And there are more solutions that don't have to do with taking drugs, doing or whatever. I'm not against anything, because I think everybody has their own pathway.
But do you handle depression without drugs?
Yes.
You do? Wow.
100%. Oh yeah. 100%.
Always, or not back at the beginning?
100%.
Really?
I've never taken a drug for depression. And I was, and at that time that I was really in a dark place, I couldn't get a job. I was auditioning and I just couldn't land anything. And I just started to, in my self-worth, my self-esteem I was tanking.
Yeah.
And then, and it's that, and then you start to spiral, and you're in such a dark place that you can't see your way out.
Yeah.
And I know now exactly why I had to go through that. Because I have a family of people that suffered under this kind of I call it the dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
And I also know that I needed to experience that so that I could be an expert, so I could wear a sweatshirt that said I'm an expert. I'm
getting you one.
No, because you have to feel it at some level of your being in order to say, I know what it's like. Because, I do a lot of work for the prevention of suicide. And in doing that work, I know that, people have tremendous amount of judgment about people that either have committed suicide or have attempted suicide or have mental illness. And we judge because we're human and because we're scared, and what we fear we judge and we run away from.
Fear,
and
we're
then
assholes. We're not in our loving.
Exactly.
We're not connected to who we truly are, or God.
Exactly. But I know what it's like to look out from a dark place and think, you know what, the whole world might be better off without me.
Yeah.
And so I understand that happens to somebody that we don't know, a family member. So I know what that feels like. And yet I also know, like we were talking about in the beginning, I also know that everything can shift.
Yeah.
So I'm actually working on a project for the prevention of suicide in teens, because it's, it used to be that kids, in our generation, when we grew up, kids got pregnant. Yeah. Kids don't get pregnant anymore because they don't have sex, but they do get depressed.
They do,
and
have
they do
sex,
attempt.
Though.
Well,
they
do.
Just
they do.
They get on the pill.
They're probably
first.
more careful.
Yeah,
or something.
Or condoms. I don't know.
But it's just teen pregnancy is way lower, but teen suicide is out of control. And so I want to give them options.
That's where you learn that your heartache is your grace.
Yes,
your heartache is your power. Your stories 100%. That you've crawled out, those are your weapons to go out into the world with a love weapon to make a difference.
100%.
And that's why I was like looking at my life with infertility, even though I have 5 kids, but I had to use surrogates, but infertility and alcoholism and mental illness and all kinds of, the whole platter I have. A kid with struggles and boarding, therapeutic boarding school that I had to send to, like all of the things that were so heavy now are my richest tools.
100%.
Of understanding and seeing people's perception and knowing I can talk to these things with authority because I felt it.
Absolutely.
I learned it, I touched it, and I overcame and was bigger and stronger for it.
You walked through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you got to the other side.
And that's why
it doesn't mean that you won't come up against some of it again. Because, until you're done, it'll still rear, once in a while, and you'll go, but then there's a different reaction.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have a response instead of a reaction. And then sometimes you just look at it and you smile because you can back away from it and just watch it and go, wow, amazing. 10 years ago, that would have floored me. 10 years ago, I've been on the floor.
Like what? Do you have something
I'm
to your forefront?
I still, I have lots of issues about being judged. So,
well, you should,
great.
Because I'm judging you right now.
But, don't choose to be an actress then. Like, what
Well,
a
I know.
dumbass thing to do.
Well, no, what a perfect thing to do to
I know,
constantly have to come
constantly
up
have to-
against your fear. Like,
It's a rough deal.
Oh, it's so rough.
And it's gotten worse because the nature of the business has become so much about like, you can't do it unless you go in and risk that judgment. But then you also have to put yourself in their shoes, and it's like, it's really never about you. So we think it's all about us.
Yeah.
It's not about you.
Yeah.
And that's also happens with age. You go, damn, it ain't about me.
yes.
Which
There's
is
some
great.
saying that's
And
wanting
there's
to
some
come up.
freedom in that.
Complete freedom of caring so much what other people think or hoping they like you, or there's such freedom in just being, and I'm doing it more every day, just being who I am.
Absolutely.
And when people
100%.
get offended because I can't remember their name, or people get offended because I interrupted because I have ADD, but I'm working on it. People get offended by these things.
I've got some stuff for you.
I've
got some stuff to
I will
help
take
you.
every little
They're all
organic,
they're all
healthy
free,
pills.
They're all good. They're all easy.
Oh, I'll take all of them.
Easy.
I'll take all of
One
them.
of the greatest things that Bobby actually taught me to do, and is a big thing in our lives, is called earthing. Do you know anything about earthing?
Nothing.
Grounding. So taking your shoes off and walking barefoot on either the grass. You can even do it on your sidewalk if you don't.
If we have fake grass,
if you have. Indeed.
might as well just go to the pavement.
It's okay. Pavement. I didn't think you could ground in pavement. Anyway, it
I think
sounds
you can
absolutely
anywhere, but
ridiculous.
it's best
but
in grass?
I mean, Bobby and I are like, we're kind
Nature.
of bizarre. We're a little freaky. We live
Yeah.
up in the mountains, so we walk barefoot through the on trails
We're
for
full-on
2
hippies.
hours. Exactly. We really are.
You are,
but
we're cute ones.
it is transformative for mood, but because the frequency of the earth has a frequency.
Everything on the planet has energy.
Everything
is made of energy.
We wear rubber-soled shoes so what happens in the late 1940s, early 50s, PF Flyers came out, which were the first rubber-soled shoes, and it was, it changed everybody's life. You can go faster and blah, 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 blah. That's when inflammatory diseases skyrocketed.
Wow.
Because people were grounding out. They weren't connected anymore. So all of the diseases that are pretty much everybody has. They're all inflammatory based diseses. If you ground, literally,
so grounding for the people
it gets rid of inflammation.
So you ground like you try and do 10 minutes a day walking in grass?
Absolutely. And there are other things, like my friends are like, hi, I live in Sun Valley. It's snowing. And, I went out there a couple of weeks ago and I did go out barefoot. It was dumb as shit because I think I got...
You're like, I'm snow grounding right now.
I think I actually got frostbite on them. Bobby goes, will you look at my feet? It had these stripes on it. I go, what are those? He goes, dude, what's wrong with you? I'm like...
I was grounding.
I thought it... So maybe not a good thing. Anyway,
don't firewalk grounding and don't snow walk grounding.
Don't firewalk unless you're with Tony
Unless
Robbins.
you're running really fast with Tony Robbins.
And he's like guiding you.
We are going to firewalk today though before you leave.
So it's I'm telling you, life changing. Balance your hormones. Your digestion gets better. You sleep better.
I believe it.
I used to have like kind of a back issue, even though I was like really athletic and I did all my vitamins and I'm doing minerals and all this stuff. I sleep on a grounded sheet. It's called. It's actually a pad that you put underneath your fitted sheet. Sleeping on that pad, I sleep so well. I wake up completely rested.
Is there
and
grass
I have no
and
back
dirt in there?
No, it's just, so a grounded sheet is, it's kind of a rubber mat, but it has metal throughout. You don't feel the metal.
Oh, I see.
And then it's also connected to the grounding part of your, the three-pronged sprocket, the lower sprocket of the third.
Yeah.
That's the grounding sprocket. So you put you test it. They have a little tester that they send with the products. They're not very expensive. And you put that in to make sure that it's a grounded outlet.
So you're living your life every aspect of your life
Yes.
is the top peak
because-
things that you can do for well-being and health. and-
Absolutely. But that's been a life changer. And,
And
Bobby
that's your
started me
journey.
doing that like 6-7 years ago. And it's just unbelievable, but I'm really dedicated to it now. I mean,
Do you travel with your pad?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Just
you
rolls
just
up?
roll it up. And yeah. There's a pad that you can put when you're at your desk, and you plug it into the grounded cord, and then you put your feet on it while you're at your computer, and
Wow.
it eliminates, or maybe not eliminates, but it really lessens the effect of EMFs, plus you're grounding at the same time. Or if you have a standing desk, you can stand on that. I mean, I'm telling you,
It's
it
endless.
sounds so crazy, but
doesn't
the
sound crazy.
benefits are unbelievable.
It doesn't sound crazy.
Well, we're electric beings. I mean, we are made up of electricity. So if you don't
Stardust.
have a way to release the buildup of electricity, then that's when inflammation happens.
When also
that's that expansion
it's
of it.
also in the same thing as when our mind spins and causes chaos in our body, and all of the atoms or neurons
Yeah.
or whatever the hell are bouncing around, and they have to find a place to come together, and
Mm-hmm.
then things grow and things are bad. It's the same. You have to release that.
Absolutely,
like it's the same
100%.
kind of thing.
And I'm telling you, it's mind-boggling. How there's this wonderful one. I did a little documentary. It's called Down to Earth, or I guess it's called Earthing now. Yeah, it's Earthing. It hasn't come out yet, but there's a woman in it. She, at 90 years old, her son was like, she's having trouble, and he was like, he worked for the FDA for years and was a scientist. And somebody said, she should try grounding. And he's like kind of rolling his eyes. But,
Right.
is his 90-year-old mother. He loves his mom. He wants her to be helped. So he looked into it. He got her a grounding sheet. He said, we're going to start walking barefoot. And he's like, thinking this is all crap, but whatever.
I love that he's a scientist.
Yeah. So he put this grounded sheet on her bed. Well, she's in the movie. She's 94 now. And she said, I feel like I have my life back because I remember things. I can, I make my bed. She lives by herself. She does all of her stuff by herself. And she says, and I'm back to playing tennis. And you show her playing tennis.
It changed her whole energy frequency.
She's like 94, just
jump-started.
hitting, backhand, forehand, doing the whole thing. You're
love
just
it.
like, oh my God. But I do believe that we're meant to live healthier and happier lives, that we're not meant to crumble and
Oh my
fall
gosh,
apart.
this reminds me of after I met you, I was starting to write my book, and I posted your grandfather's picture. And
Yes.
I put something under it and I posted his quote about blood, sweat, and tears, or blood when you write. And I tagged you, and you said, I don't think he had that right. I think you should write with love and joy in your heart. And I go, oh, I like that better. That's a better perspective. I was going to sit down and start crying.
Yes,
I like that
exactly.
choice better.
Yeah. I do believe that if he were here to redo it, he'd go, God, all that suffering, what a pain in the butt. And well, and also, I look at my grandmother, who was such an extraordinary man, but
Ernest Hemingway.
addiction
I just had to
was
say.
horrible. So he was...
Tortured.
He was depressed, so he's self-medicating with alcohol, which is a depressant.
Which is so
the
common.
spiral, but it was back in the 30s and 40s. Like, who knew?
Yeah.
Nobody knew that was a bad
Yes.
thing. Now we know, but now we still make choices.
Yeah, now I still cocktail.
It's hard.
Do you drink?
No, I never
No.
have. I mean, I did. This is funny.
What?
The only 2 times I've ever been drunk were with my parents. Thank you.
That is funny.
I was like, thank you.
How old were you?
You got me drunk. I was like 16 the first time. They were like, oh, have some more wine. And then they never fed me. And I was drunk I was idiotic. And I woke up and I felt horrible. And I had a date in the morning. I mean, it was the
Yes.
funniest experience.
Yes.
And halfway into the date, it was like, the date was in the morning, which I don't...
Weird.
Breakfast date. And halfway into it, I got really nauseous and walked up and left. Never, I think I saw him 20 years later. I said, I'm really sorry that I left you.
At
I
the
wasn't
table.
feeling well.
Oh, that's so funny. You've only been drunk twice. So what did you use to self-medicate before you...
I over-exercised. I did everything. So I thought I was being healthy by either over-exercising, eating every strange... I mean, I've eaten every strange way that you can eat.
Yeah.
I've been vegan. I've been macrobiotic. I've been all fat. I've been no fat.
What are you now?
I am basically I eat real food. I don't do grain because I know it doesn't work very well for me. So I base, So I'm basically
What about
paleo.
meat?
I do eat meat now. I was vegan for 20 years, and my vegan friends really were upset with me that I became a
people feel like you're in their tribe and you're abandoned them.
Or that you betrayed
them.
And here's my feeling on it. I'm nervous. I get nervous to like say anything because people get upset. But
Let them.
I do believe that not everybody can be a certain way. I think some people can be vegan and be perfectly healthy and have vibrant lives. I know that, growing up, I ate meat. Now, it doesn't mean I don't go to a McDonald's. I don't eat abused animals. Granted, they have one pretty crappy day.
I want to say really quick about that, about people getting offended and stuff. What I have learned where I am is that every single person on the planet is exactly doing what they are supposed to be doing for their journey with their God, with their higher power.
Yep.
Everyone. And the second I say somebody else's path is wrong, I'm suffering. I'm placing judgment.
Exactly.
And it's
that's the Buddhist creed. It's like the minute, that is, somebody else's suffering is, and when do we, who are we to judge anyone?
Who are we?
It just doesn't make any sense.
And when people
I
are
look at
being
my kids,
judgmental,
sometimes people will say, well, you should get your daughters to, I'm like, they're on their journey.
Get their daughters what?
I don't know, to eat a certain way or to do this or do that.
Yeah.
They will do whatever they do when it's time for them to do it.
And this is pretty extreme of me, but my daughter has some pictures as a mother I would prefer she didn't have on her Instagram.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And people are like, you should tell her to do this. You should tell her to do that. You should. And no, I shouldn't. She is on her journey. I do say to her, I want you to know what that represents when people see it.
Yeah.
I want to ask you who you want to become.
Yeah.
And is who you want to become
but
represented.
You can't tell. It's not our job.
It's her artsy project.
And also, it's not our job as a parent to we're there to guide. We're not there to
shut accounts down and you put this picture up and you say this and you do that.
I think the minute you do that, then there's just rebellious kind of like, I'll show her or whatever. I mean, it's hard as a parent.
Really
I remember
hard.
my oldest, one of her first photo shoots, she's supermodel. I mean, she's 31 now, so I'm never going to tell her what to do. But
she is a supermodel. She's a real beauty.
She's extraordinary.
I just looked
Both
at her.
my girls are really pretty, but
and the other one's art is amazing.
Her first photo shoot, I think she was completely nude the entire, and it was all over the internet. And I was like, I remember being really nervous. It made me. I was scared. I was like, oh, but So I said, I
how will people
nervous.
judge me too? Like I'm like. People are judging me as a bad mom because I let her put the pictures up that it's her heart's desire at this time in her life. And you know what
I know it's a really tough one. But then I had to ask myself, at probably a very similar age, I made a movie called Personal Best, and I was naked in the steam room. And then I made another movie, Star 80, where I played a playmate, and there was naked pictures all over. I mean, there was no internet.
Yeah,
but so.
Who are we to say how they're supposed to learn their lessons?
And she's, and my girls are extraordinary. I never force them, and they are who they are. And they're, my youngest is an artist, and she's very.
Oh my gosh, her drawings I just saw online.
Oh,
they look so.
Insane.
There's one of her and her sister when they're little with an arrow.
Yeah,
and I was like, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, she's got an amazing, like, wildly. It's cool. She was very into Tim Burton when she was a kid.
Oh, I love it. Did she sketch and stuff when she was little? Did she take art classes?
Yeah, so we gave her art classes, and then she went to art school. She went to Otis, and then she went to Parsons in New York. And boy, I've never seen a human work harder. Oh. She worked so hard. I was thinking, oh, great, art school. That'll be fun.
Yeah, fun.
Oh, it's harder than, because you can't, in any other kind of university, you can wait to the last minute to read the book or study for the test or whatever.
Yeah.
with art, you have a project every week, and if it's not done, you don't get credit for it.
Right.
So she works so hard. She's so meticulous, and you've seen her drawings. Her name is Langley Fox, and they're just...
Where the hell did that name come from, Langley?
Langley, well, we thought it was going to be a boy, because you know how you do. And we're like, oh, it's going to be a boy, because I'd already had a girl. And I was like, oh, wait. So right before she was born, I thought, I think it's a girl. So the male name was going to be Langren, which was a family name, kind of a Swedish family name.
If it was a guy?
And Langley felt more feminine.
It's so
I wasn't thinking
cool.
about the CIA, if anybody is thinking that, because I didn't even...
Luckily, I'm putting no correlation to it right now. Is that like the name of the building or something, or where it's located?
It's like where it's located.
Okay.
The CIA.
So I just think it's really strong. It's a cool, sexy
It's a great name, and her middle name is Fox, and that is I grew up on a little creek called Fox Creek in Idaho, and so it's Langley Fox and Dree Louise. Louise is my mother's name.
Your other daughter is Dree?
Dree, my oldest.
How do you spell
Dree,
that?
Dree, like tree with a D.
Oh.
And so I have a dog named Tree, and she's like, really, Mom? I'm like, that's different.
That's so funny. You're with a D and that's with a T. Listen up,
Because
sweetheart.
it's a dog. I'm like, I know, and we love that dog.
That your sister Margot.
Yes.
I have a daughter named Margot.
Oh, you do?
But it's with a T.
So here's the truth about the name. So Margot, Margaux, was a made-up thing by Margot. She was born Margot.
Wow.
She was Mariel Hemingway with the Margot. And then when she became a supermodel, which happened like literally overnight, she lived in Sun Valley, Idaho. And I don't know if you remember, do you remember Evel Knievel? And he used to jump all this weird stuff.
Yeah.
So we lived in Idaho, and he jumped the Snake River in Twin Falls, Idaho. It was back in the 70s. And he came there, and my sister Margot said, I'm going down to Twin Falls. Somebody's giving me a job. I'm doing PR with Evel Knievel. He's jumping the snake. And we're like, whatever. You're strange.
All of
okay,
that seems
see
all
ya.
right.
She didn't come back for like a month. I was in the grocery store with my father getting food. My mother had cancer at the time, so I was getting food because I was kind of her primary caregiver. And I was with my dad in the market, and I looked over at the magazines next to the thing, and I'm like, I see this girl that looks an awful lot like my sister, but she has blonde hair because she had dark hair.
Oh.
She has bleach blonde hair, and her name is Margaux. And I'm like, is that my sister? And Dad goes, wow. So we opened it up, and she has this elaborate story that my mom and dad were drinking a bottle of Chateau Margaux, whatever, 1950 something, and they conceived Margot in Paris.
So she made a story up for her new
story.
spelling?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's
But
so
God
damn
bless
funny.
her. I mean, it worked.
Well, A,
was a
it
good
worked,
story.
and B, it's like normally when you feel like I'm going to have a new identity, you don't just tweak a few letters. You pick a whole new, you pick
you're
a
like,
whole new name.
I come from a new place.
That's so funny. My name's Samantha. My daughter, our first daughter, we were pregnant with, and we couldn't think of a name, Dave or I. So I called my dad, who was kind of my hero at the time, and I was like, Dad, what do you think? And he said, the most handsome name for a woman, and I love that he used the word handsome for a woman, he said, is Margot with a T. It's Margaret, but it's French. And I was like, I looked over, Dave was on the other line. He's like, and it's just in that moment it was Margot.
That's amazing.
And I don't know very many people.
No, spelled with a T. No,
Or your name either.
Yeah, I know. My name's a good name. My parents lived in Cuba,
And they went to a port.
and they went to a little
Your
fishing village.
Father and grandfather went to the port?
So my grandfather lived there for 21 years. He loved Cuba. He loved the Cuban people. I go there quite often. I take people to his house there. But
I can't wait to go.
It's amazing.
I just manifested
and
that.
you will.
I'm going to.
Yeah, I'll make
want
sure
to.
you go. And he loved Cuba, and my father moved there, and they lived there as a family before I was born, and they went to this little fishing village called Mariel, and they would fish there. And so when my mother got pregnant, they moved back to the States, and they moved to Mill Valley, California. She got pregnant, and I think I was a mistake. I'm pretty sure I was a mistake. That's what happens when you leave
Look how
Cuba.
good mistakes turn out.
Yeah, but it's a problem when you hear that as a child. You're like,
gosh,
what?
damn it. Everything hurts.
You know, like they have an argument and they're upstairs and they think you don't know. And
Yeah.
you're like,
And it's like that one little thing said out of context. Your little brain
totally. And
doesn't
that's
know what
all
to
you
do
hold
with
on
it.
to. I remember I
And you
held
just
on to
take
it
it,
for
you're like,
years.
shit.
Yeah. And you're like, no wonder. It all makes sense now.
Yes. And you take those little comments and it's like your brain
Totally.
at 7 years old doesn't know how to interpret what's happening. So you're like, I guess I suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you put these little
Yeah.
pebbles in and then they fall eventually
isn't that
into your
amazing?
mind.
Yeah.
And then you start seeing the world through these false thoughts.
Totally. And we keep going back to those false
Oh
thoughts.
my gosh.
That's what's really interesting about what I love about what you do. And that's why I, of course, said yes, is that you are you are mindful. You're very mindful of of how we affect our children based on how we've been affected by our lives. And it really is about telling your story. I think it's very important for us to, whether you tell it publicly or, I did a documentary, you don't have to do that, but telling our story frees it from being real, because the truth is,
Right.
those are just stories.
They are stories.
Things that happened in the past, even if they happen, they're still just stories at the end of the day.
They're not happening now.
Exactly.
We survived them.
And
Yeah.
I do a lot of speaking and I tell my story a lot and people go, oh my God, how can you? And I said, because I've told it so many times that it actually is like describing a movie.
Yes.
That I remember seeing that, but it doesn't affect me anymore. But it took a while. It took a while
Yes.
before those emotions didn't get triggered.
Yeah.
Now I get triggered emotionally, but not in a way that it's affecting me. Just that the memory of it is like, it's almost like a warm feeling of emotion rather than a panic of like, oh
Yes.
crap, that's my life.
I am that thought or that
Yes.
story.
Exactly.
Or I am what my relatives did, or I
Yeah.
am, which none of that is true.
None of it.
And I do feel like someone said something like this, but I can't remember. I think it was maybe Buddha or maybe, what's his name, the Dalai Lama.
Mm-hmm.
Said something like, we are just in a movie and the people around us are just the actors in our film.
I think it might have been Paramahansa Yogananda.
Or it was Parma.
Yeah.
I don't even know that name.
I think he talked about that a lot. Also Shakespeare talked about that. I mean, we were all there's players in the play.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said for that. And I think Paramahansa Yogananda used to say
It's a big
that
ass name.
he was one of the first Indian gurus to come west. And he has a self-realization fellowship here in Los Angeles on Sunset on the beach.
What?
There's a self-realization fellowship. It's this wonderful piece of property, and you can go and you can meditate.
I wanna check it out.
It's sort of an embracing of all religions. I've been.
I embrace
down-
all religions. Any
you
path
should.
that gets you connected to the higher power. There's only one
Absolutely.
source of energy, and there's only
Yeah.
one universal, and there's only one big
whatever
God.
God is to you, whatever you call it, it's still the same.
It's just
And
knowing there's
still about
something
love.
greater than us, and it resides within our body, and we have access to it just sitting at home.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like
it's
that.
so
You can
good.
go to church to commune with other people, or you can close your eyes and commune with God yourself, because we're all have a piece of God inside of us.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
All of us. And that's when I know that we're all connected.
Absolutely,
All of
100%.
us are connected, and all of us are exactly where we're supposed to be. And
Yeah.
any thought is separation from God.
Absolutely.
Because he said the kingdom of God, every religion says the kingdom of God is inside of me, or we're made in the likeness of God.
Yep.
So I love that.
It is. It's very freeing if you can really hear it and really take it in and know that. And also something that Bobby and I talk about a lot is that if I hurt myself or I hurt you, I hurt myself. If I hurt myself, I hurt you.
Yeah.
Because if we are interconnected, so how we treat ourselves is how we treat everybody else.
That's right.
And so it's simple, but it's
Huge.
It's so huge. It's so huge.
I'm doing little baby burps of my turkey chili. I put a little too much Tabasco in it. But it is that there's a thing that I heard that is our our outer reality is a reflection of what's going on inside.
Absolutely.
So if we're in chaos and turmoil, we have more people hitting our car or flipping us off or trying to run us off the road or bumping our cart or pushing us, because that's the energy we're giving out is coming back to us.
100%.
And when I walk into a place and I have an open heart and I say, God, let me see the people you need me to see today, and let me be touched by them. Let me touch the people I need to touch. It's a magical experience.
Yeah.
And I'm always connecting with someone, always. And I feel so alive.
Yeah.
Because I'm not in here.
Yeah.
Or on my here.
Yeah.
And I know that we're all connected. I love it so much. The simplicity of filling yourself by just looking and being present.
Yeah.
With anyone. And even in the line at the grocery store when you're going through and they're like, hey, how are you? And they're running their things, like to really look them in the eye and say, thank you for asking me that.
Yeah.
I'm fantastic. How are you, Louise?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
So important. You and I are similar. Because I feel that that's such a big thing. You know, because people that do tasks that, you know, like, God bless you. Thank you for doing that thing that I'm not willing to do, or I didn't have to do, or whatever. And acknowledging them.
Yes. The guy who loads up the groceries.
Oh my God.
The guy who blows the leaves.
I love these people.
It's like, thank you. Thank you for doing your part.
Yeah.
That you've chosen to do.
Yeah, it's
amazing. We're all working together doing our thing.
Well, it's like making a movie. Whenever I think about making a movie or a television show or whatever, it's not just the actor, it's not the director. It's everybody. Everybody. The guy at craft service that makes sure that there's snacks for everybody.
Healthy
and water
snacks for you.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's piece, you know, the guy that pulls cable. It's all important.
Yeah.
But that's like life. It really is a reflection of everything. Like if we don't have the guy that picks up our trash, it's a bummer.
Yeah.
I was just in Cuba and they're going through this like weird, like they don't have any receptacles for trash. So there's trash everywhere. It's
Why
really
is it
kind
now,
of shocking.
not before?
Good question. But apparently the Japanese are sending in the big trucks that are going to pick them up. But it's like you realize that it's like you pull one spoke out of the wheel and shit goes down.
That's right.
It starts to spiral and, you know, things are flying. So we don't realize how important the little tasks in life are. And they're not little tasks. And, you know, because I talk about like chop wood, carry water. It's a Buddhist thing. It's like, you know, it's being present, but it's like when I make tea or I make coffee in the morning, to really like smell it as I put it in. Experience that. The simplicity of washing dishes after a meal. Like they sound like, but if you do that, that changes you. If you brush your teeth with an awareness that you're brushing your teeth.
Like when I get in the shower, you know, when I'm not being mindful, I'll get in the shower and I'm really quick this and that, get in the hair and then I'll be mindful in the shower and I'm like, I squirt it. I'm like, I love how this smells.
Yeah.
And my fingernails scratch my scalp and it feels so good. And that hot water hits my back and I'm in gratitude. I get hot water. And then it's a really beautiful experience that I'm allowing myself to feel what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking where I have to go.
Absolutely.
And I'm missing. And trying to do that, like I don't do that all the time or maybe even 50% of the time. But when I do it feels so good.
It is. It's so great.
It feels so good.
It's so great.
To when you're sitting next to your kid, how much longer do I have to sit here so I can go meet my friend for a cocktail and I want to hurry up and when she can fall asleep? Or holding her and feeling her chubby little arm or you know what I mean? Or whatever it is, just being like, I'm right here with you right now. And I've just started doing that more and more. And it makes me like when you were talking about Bobby seeing you, it makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting here. But I'm allowing myself to feel deeply and to be present sitting. And it's such a gift.
It is a gift.
And I was thinking,
it is a gift.
It's a gift for myself and they're receiving it as well.
Well, you say that because my best memory of my mother is once my mother had cancer when I was growing up, but there was one memory before she got cancer and my parents weren't extremely affectionate. Not that they didn't love me. They love me and I know they love me. But there was a time I was sitting on her lap and I remember hearing her heartbeat and her hands. She had really like I did some are in my own hands. They were kind of like long, but like, knuckly and stuff. But I remember feeling and smelling her and her fingernails. She had pink nail polish because she always did her nails. And I remember hearing her heartbeat, and it didn't happen that often. And that had such an effect. So you crying about that, of course you did, because you felt so much when you sit with that child. And I remember it. So for me and that's one of my clearest and most pure and sweetest memories that I have being with my mother. And I wanted to give that to my girls when they were younger. And I'm, sometimes I wonder, did I, or was I there? Was I present?
And none of that matters because we have today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I have a 19-year-old and I just started practicing a few years ago looking in people's eyeballs when they talk to me in my house.
Yeah.
And he comes home and I look at him and he's receiving it right now.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be 50 going, I wish you would have looked at me once. I did. So I'm done.
Yeah, exactly. Did my job.
There's something else that you said. Oh, another thing that you said earlier that I wanted to talk about, your thing, what is your message you want people to know? Oh, this is what I'm going to tell you. The seen and heard thing.
Yes.
Because you know the power of being seen and heard. And I think you know the power of it because you didn't feel it when you were young. And now you know what it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So when I first my mom was mentally ill, locked behind the bedroom door, didn't have access to her. And I formed the thought, I'm not even good enough for my own mother to get out of bed for. And I lived that pretty kick-ass for about 23 years till I met Dave and started melting a little bit, my story. I had a kid. Now, my mother didn't hold me and she didn't do those kind of things, normal, primal things. And so I had a kid and I was like, I remember holding him and feeding him and thinking, I'm kicking ass. I'm out of bed and I'm not beating anyone because my dad would beat the shit out of us in a spanking for way too long with a leather belt and missed my butt a lot. But I was like, I'm kicking ass. And then I remember him crying and like I stepped over him and looked back. I go, oh, shit, there's more. And it was just like every day that there's more to being a parent. And I remember once there were a few of them. I think I might have had, I went from 2 to 4. So I don't know if I had 2 or 4, but I remember just looking at him going, not sure what to do, kind of feeling a little bit like I'm still learning. I'm a blank slate, writing my own kind of how this works. And I remember looking at him going, if I could have had something from my mom, like if I could just pick one thing, what would it have been? Because, at that time I was going, I don't cook, I don't sew, I don't do these things because I didn't ever learn how, and I was thinking of all these things. I thought, put all that to side. What did I need from her? And I came up with all I needed was to be seen and heard. And that's when we know we're loved.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
And so that when you said that earlier, I was like, oh, I love that so much. That's so the two most important things we can do on the planet is to see someone and to hear them. That tells them you matter.
100%.
You matter.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And when our kids leave our home, they just need to know they matter. They don't need to be completely right. They don't need to do things our way. They don't need to not have tattoos or not drink or not have a belly button ring. You know what I mean? Like all that stuff. Who gives a shit?
Exactly.
That's theirs to go through. I just want them to know that they matter.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy that I've kind of tapped into this.
That's awesome.
I think the first 10 years, they were talking to my shoulder in the car or my back at my computer.
Right.
And now they get my eyeballs. And if I'm doing something, I ask them, can I stay with what I'm doing? Or do you need me right now? I can wait. And then I give them all of me. Yeah. And it's such a freaking flipped that whole multitasking being cool on its ass.
Yeah. I'm so glad that that's coming to an end. Because, we all bought into it thinking, oh,
I can do this and this. Whoop, that burned. I got this and this. It's like,
and you do everything shitty.
They got a shoulder and shit. That's what my kids got for the first 10 years of their life.
It's true. It's hard. It's really, it's wild. It's wild how we... And as a society, we buy into those things. And women get really wrapped up in perfection and thinking that we have to do this and that, and we leave ourselves at the end. And at the end of the day, that's such crap.
I was talking to 2 moms yesterday. I spoke at a little thing for women, and I was talking to these women I was sitting with, and they were talking about their kids this and their kids that. Another one's like, oh, I don't know what I really want to do because I have kids. I was like, can I just say something really quick, you guys? You are here for you. You are here for the soul, your soul's journey. Those people are just on your path right now. I know they're called your kids, but don't lose why you're here. Remember, you first. If you're married, your marriage second, and your kids third. That's how it all goes down, because you're the reason you're here. Those kids are only there because of that relationship.
Yeah.
And when that falters, it falls apart, and you know, shit happens. Or you're supposed to move apart because it's time. Either, whatever, however it goes down. But those ladies were like, literally, like I said, profanity at them, because their whole knowing of who they are and their well-being is wrapped up in the thought
themselves
outside of themselves.
Absolutely.
I'm over there and over there.
And I speak to that all the time, because I spent my life, I thought there was either a doctor, a guru, a this, a that, or whatever, a guide, a teacher, an expert. Somebody outside myself was going to tell me how to live my life. Mm-hmm. Until the day that, and it actually has something to do with
me,
His Holiness, yes,
His
Holiness the Dalai Lama, His Holiness the You.
Thank you.
Anyway, that's too long a story, but
did you meet him in person, or something said?
I met him in person, and
did he have joyous eyeballs?
He's beyond the happy person.
Oh,
he's like
filled with joy.
He's just so wonderful. I was with a lot of people who were asking him questions, but I just got so much pleasure out of just watching him listen. Talk about somebody who connected. Like when people were talking, he was only with them. He was only with her. I was only with that. And then when he looked at me, he liked, it was like, and it was kind of an aha moment. It was very simple, but it was in him looking at me. But I realized, I was like, he basically said that I was okay. Like out of the blue, like said, he goes, "You're okay." And I went, holy, and it had been years of like struggles.
Yes.
Here, there, thinking, looking for the perfect doctor or whatever, holistic somebody. And I realized I had all the answers. Yes. And that's what I it's like you're on, it's like, I want everybody to know that everyone knows what's right for them.
When people say to me, I can't decide what to do, I say, yeah, you can. You know the answer. Will you allow yourself to quiet your mind, to stop the crazy spinning, I don't know shit.
Yeah.
Connect here and hear it.
Yeah.
Listen to the whisper. Yeah. You do know the answer.
Yeah. It might take weeks for it to, but if you really are just patient and just breathe with it, because it comes when it's supposed to. Too.
Yes.
It comes when you really can receive it.
You have to spin till you spin yourself out of control, or so damn tired that you're open to a new way of thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, because we get locked into the ways that we've been brought up in society and this and that, and our belief system made us think, or that idea that we, that our multitasking is a wonderful and just ridiculous thing.
We're winding down to the end of this mofo. And where are you living? Are you far? Are you in the mountains?
I live in Malibu, and I also live in Idaho.
Oh my gosh, two of the most beautiful places.
I'm very, very lucky. I feel blessed every day.
Well, congratulations for creating, for attracting.
Yes.
For doing the work on yourself to heal in such a way that you can accept a beautiful partner.
Yes.
And
very lucky.
And manifesting where you should be living.
Yeah.
Surrounding yourself with electrical mattresses and Malibu and the mountains.
Yep.
Congratulations on the work you've done and how you get to enjoy it now.
I'm super grateful. And I'm grateful to have done this with you.
Oh, I'm so grateful you came.
Cool.
And I forgot what else, but something. I'll go with you somewhere. Oh, Cuba. One day,
yes, one day.
Year, whenever.
Yes.
I've never been, and I would frickin' love to go with somebody who knows it.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing.
Mariel.
Yes. I mean, Bobby always laughs. He's like, don't do that accent thing. That's stupid. I'm like, dude, if I was Cuban, I would say it that way. He says, are you Cuban?
And then you said, but Margot changed the T to EAUX.
I know, and she's very French.
I love you.
I love you.
And thank you for sharing yourself and your light with the world and enlightening people who are in darkness.
Perfect. Well,
so good.
Thank you.
It's a good work.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome.